As soon as we called off our engagement, I met someone who changed everything, including the fact that I'm now the best man at my ex-fiancé's wedding and he's livid about it. I have to admit, I was still in a bit of a daze when I agreed to stand by his side. My new girlfriend, Alex, had swept me off my feet after everything fell apart with Emily. We met through mutual friends just 24 hours after the engagement cancellation, and I was smitten. Alex was charming, outgoing, and seemed to genuinely care about me. Fast forward a week, and I found myself wearing a matching blue tuxedo as Emily's +1 at her wedding reception. The awkwardness was palpable, but I tried to play it cool for Alex's sake. That was until Emily made the comment about how I must be just friends now that we were done. As the night wore on and my guilt began to consume me, Alex noticed Emily staring at us with an unmistakable air of resentment. We exchanged a knowing look, but before things could escalate further, my phone buzzed, another text from Emily's sister, informing me that she'd sent a strongly worded letter to my parents. The next morning, I received the letter and was greeted by my mom's frantic call, demanding to know why I showed up with some random woman to her child's wedding. It turned out Emily had been quietly documenting our interactions on social media, spreading rumors about Alex's intentions. The comments section of a video recording of us leaving the reception, where we shared a hug and exchanged awkward small talk. That evening, as I was helping Alex get ready for an event, she casually mentioned how much she'd love to meet my parents in person. Her calm demeanor and understanding words helped me see that maybe this wasn't all her fault. With newfound determination, I made the call, a phone conversation with Emily's sister, asking her to remove those damaging comments from social media before the next family gathering. The sister hesitated at first, but eventually agreed after being assured my parents wouldn't be easily swayed by her anger. Finally, there was closure. Alex and I shared a genuine, heartfelt laugh over lunch as we discussed our future together. Emily's words still lingered in my mind, "I wish you were standing next to me." Maybe someday she'd understand that it wasn't meant to be between us. But what happens when the new guy starts talking about taking things too slow? I'll never forget the day my coworker, Alex, walked into our office with that smug grin on her face, knowing she'd been caught red-handed stealing from our company. I'd been trying to cover for her, downplaying her mistakes and helping her avoid any real repercussions, but now it was all about to come crashing down. As the news spread like wildfire through the office, Alex turned to me with a desperate look in her eyes, pleading for my help. "Please, Sarah, don't ruin my reputation," she begged. "I'll do anything, just don't tell HR." My heart racing with guilt and anxiety, I agreed to work with her to pay back the money, thinking it was the right thing to do. But now, as we sat in her car, calculating our options, Alex revealed a shocking truth: she had planned this entire scheme to escape her toxic marriage and start fresh. But there's one twist that has left me reeling. I just got an email from my boss informing me that if I don't hand over the entire sum to HR by the end of the week, they'll take me out of the company entirely. I told my parents I was getting married to someone they'd never met, and their reaction wasn't surprise. My younger sister had been married for 5 years, and I assumed my parents would be thrilled that I finally found someone. But as we sat down to discuss our plans, I mentioned one detail: my fiancé's relatives, his aunt and uncle from the other side of the country. My mom's eyes widened, her grip on the armrest tightening. My dad's face went white, like he'd sucked on a lemon. They exchanged a look that said, "We need to talk." What I got was an onslaught of questions about why we were still seeing someone who had family members spewing hate speech. My fiancé's transphobia wasn't something I'd initially thought was deal-breaker. It was just what they believed, not who they were as a person. But now that I knew the full extent of his views, my parents' worry made sense. They couldn't bear the thought of their grandchild marrying someone with such hateful family. But here's how things escalated. My parents started making plans for an alternate wedding without me and threatened to cut me out of the family if I went through with it. I'm still trying to process how my sister's life has fallen apart before our very eyes. We're all stuck at this awful family wedding with her fake secret. She got pregnant and didn't tell us until after they'd announced their engagement. At first, I thought it was just a big mistake, that she'd freak out and forget to mention the pregnancy. But as the days went by and the wedding planning continued, it became clear that this was no accident. She was either desperate for attention or completely oblivious to how her actions would affect us. I'm still trying to pick up the pieces of my own shattered ego, but I know my sister's deception is just the tip of the iceberg. My parents are at war with our cousins over seating arrangements, while my brother is too busy pretending like everything is fine to notice his wife's actual stress levels. But what really takes the cake is that she's convinced us all to pretend like we're celebrating her perfect life when in reality, I'm seething with resentment every time someone mentions her beautiful pregnancy. My pride got hurt so badly that I almost lost myself in the process of keeping a stiff upper lip. Now, I just want to fight. Any fight would be better than this pretend happiness. The only thing keeping me from losing my mind is the fact that our cousin has been taking secret video recordings during the whole ordeal and just dropped them online yesterday morning. I'm sitting here with my partner, who's been staring at me like I've finally revealed my true colors. It started with a harmless text from my ex, but I panicked and lied about spending the night with a friend from work to avoid their suspicion. I told them I was working late, that it meant nothing, that we just grabbed dinner together and watched a movie. At first, they seemed to buy it, even laughed when I said something about how drunk I was. But then they started asking more questions. What time did we leave the office? What's this friend's name? My heart sank every time they asked one of those questions, because I knew I was caught in a web of my own making. Last night, I finally broke down and told them everything. I confessed to lying about spending the night with that friend. They were devastated, like their entire trust had been shattered. We've been arguing non-stop ever since. Tonight was supposed to be our wedding rehearsal dinner, but now it's clear we're just pretending to move forward. As we sit here in silence, staring at each other like strangers, I realize I should have just owned up to my mistake from the start. But pride got in the way, and now I've lost their trust forever. I'm not even sure if they'll forgive me for this betrayal. This is when things started to get really bad. I'm still trying to process the aftermath of our engagement party. I thought we had everything: love, happiness, a future together. But that all changed in an instant when my fiancé left me crying in front of our friends and family. At first, I blamed it on his mom's constant meddling, how she always pushed him to be the perfect son, but not good enough for me. So I vented about her at everyone, made sure they knew how much I resented her interference. My fiancé left, of course, and I was devastated. But as the days went by, I realized that his mom wasn't the only one who'd been pushing him, I was too. I had to admit it, I was suffocating under the pressure of being perfect for him. Our friends told me I needed to let go, be myself, but my pride wouldn't let me. I became obsessed with the idea that he'd left because I wasn't good enough. So I isolated myself from everyone, including him. It was like a toxic dance. I'd pull away, and then he'd try to reach out, only for me to shut him down again. And then I found out why he really left. He couldn't afford the wedding on my parents' dime, so he felt trapped and helpless. I was horrified, not just because of what he said, but also because I realized how my own entitlement had blinded me to his struggles. I've been trying to make amends ever since, long conversations, apologies, promises to do better. But the real test is yet to come. He's asked me to help him pay off our wedding debt together, as equals, not with the burden of his family's expectations on my shoulders. But what if he changes his mind? I'm sitting in my living room, surrounded by balloons and fake smiles, as I watch my sister-in-law get ready to walk down the aisle with her cheating ex-boyfriend who's supposed to be the best man. 3 years ago, he broke up with me after I caught him with another girl, and I thought I'd never see him again. But it turns out his family is still in touch, and they invited us to their wedding as a gesture of goodwill. As I watch my sister exchange vows with this man who still has the nerve to wear that same stupid grin on his face, I can feel my anger simmering just below the surface. He's charming and charismatic, but I know the real him, the one who cheated on me, who lied to me, who made me question everything about myself. My sister keeps telling herself it's not his fault, that he didn't mean to hurt her, but I know better. And as for my brother, he's oblivious to it all, too caught up in his own happiness to notice the elephant in the room. Just as the ceremony is wrapping up, and everyone's gathering for a group photo, my ex-boyfriend leans over to whisper something in my sister's ear. His eyes lock onto mine, his expression a mask of innocence as he mouths a single word: now. The ring on his finger seems to pulse in time with my racing heart. My eyes never break contact as he whispers again, but this time, it's mine, not the words themselves, but the possessive tone that sends a shiver down my spine. I swallow hard, my voice frozen in my throat. Follow for part 2.